Hey guys, and welcome to the Leftover Culture Review, and welcome to another incredibly culturally important episode where I sit down and develop a piece of art using nothing but Sega's Art Alive. Here's one from the previous video. That's right, I'm recording 2 in a row. Seems to happen a fair bit where like you get into the groove of something and you just want to keep it going. So, yeah, this is what we're doing. We are developing here on the Leftover Culture Review, well, I guess I am developing a virtual exhibition using Sega's Art Alive to develop a whole range of artworks. And this is Prawn Party, so definitely check it out on this channel, previous video, if you want a little bit more Leftover Culture Review art in your life. But if not, if you don't want more art in your life, then probably don't watch this one either. But I'm going to go over and hit reset on the console. As we know, we can't save these images, but that's why I'm recording the screen. So there's a record that it existed. So I'll hit record now. I'll go over and bang! No more Prawn Party, but what we do have is a world of opportunity to develop another piece of art. Right, and I already have an idea of what I want to bring to you guys today, which is, obviously we'll start with a fantastic background color. What do I want in this piece? I want a little bit of, I want a good orange and a good yellow. This one might be the one. All right, let's go blue for the background. I want this one to feel a little bit beachy and chilled out. A little while ago, it was actually on a whiteboard at work. Hell of a long day, and I just drew this guy. I call him Blenderhead, and he's a head with a blender stuck in it, and his brain is like turned into mash, and it's just dripping out of his face. I think that describes a lot of people I know who just have a hell of a lot on their plate. And it's okay to sometimes feel a bit like Blenderhead and just, I guess it's a sense of being overwhelmed. But again, doing it in a fun, quirky style that I just adore so much. I realize I'm drawing sunglasses again. I went through, not a phase, but a lot of my characters, I just love, yeah, the idea of sunglasses just representing being chilled out and calm, and I guess the joke behind it being that inside your head you're absolutely like frazzled and fried, but on the surface of it you're looking pretty calm, and I already don't like the way those glasses look. Let's try that again. But yeah, Blenderhead it was a fun idea. And I've revisited the idea like a couple of times now. And one thing that I've been like wanting to do with this virtual exhibition is obviously showing the Sega Art Alive, you know, art in all its glory, but also having the ability to I guess show what some of these pieces look like illustrated like properly using an actual drawing program instead of this kind of limited, very challenging program. And I've said it before, like this is a special kind of torture where I don't sleep, I stay up most of the night drawing very slowly on a Sega Mega Drive, and the final pieces are rough and ready, and you can't spend too long on any one piece just because it just gets turned off at the end of it all, right? Like Obviously these pieces live on in perpetuity because I've recorded the screen, but you can't really like spend, I don't know, maybe you can spend hours and hours and hours working on a piece, but it's such a hard moment when you have to turn the system off and just watch it vanish and go back to that start screen. And this is probably going to be another one of those times where I wish there was a better way to nut out a composition. And if anyone's thought of any, I'd love to hear it. One thought I did have was using pen and paper to like quickly sketch out what I think the picture should look like, and then taping that to the screen and hoping that you can see enough through the screen to like draw underneath, but I'm not like super convinced that's gonna work. It's probably more like a process of trial and error, and I've definitely been doing a lot of error so far, and it still hasn't exactly helped me work out how I want these compositions to look. But you know, here I am trying again and again and again. To make some pieces in Sega's Art Alive that I think look really cool. I guess you could also say that Blenderhead here, there's an Instagram account I follow that make their own tiki mugs, and I just think the whole idea of a head as a cup was kind of cool, which is where, like, you know, with a lot of cocktails you have to blend them. That's kind of where the idea of a blended head sort of originated from. And very similar to the party prawns, this is a picture that I attempted in my very first review of Sega's Art Alive. So if you want to see some of the features of this program and what we're actually dealing with, that review is also available on the channel. And as we know, like, I've got my favorite tools, which is the arrow sort of line making tool, just because you can get some like quirky angles. And I think nothing, well, there is actually a lot of art I like that just uses like default tools. Things like squares and circles. I do like a bit of simplistic computer art, but for these pieces that I wanted to work on, I was more interested in like trying to get some of those wonky curvy lines. I don't know if I've used any of the shape tools like for this process. Maybe I have. Obviously those tools are available. You can make a straight line or a circle or any of those things, but for the most part I've been using this curvy line tool because the lines, sorry, it's not a curvy line tool, the arrow line making tool, just because the lines can be a little bit more wonky and natural feeling. And even though the resolution is low and you can see all those little pixels, so it's always like the hair that I really struggle with in this program, because you're always having to like hold the mouse, not the mouse pad, the control pad down to like swing around to make these sort of jagged shapes, and it takes a really long time. And if they don't work out, then you're back at square one doing it again. So I've kind of avoided it for the most part, but I'll go ahead and add a little bit of hair for our guy because he's looking a little bit cold. And hopefully it gives us a good effect. So even though he's called Blenderhead, I don't think I'll be putting the blender into this piece, just because it's Sega's Art Alive, and we're kind of limited with our space. And maybe if I had done a better job planning out the composition, we might have more space for a blender, but then we would also lose a lot of detail on the face. And I really think it's the head that makes Blenderhead. So maybe it'll be more like those tiki cups that I was talking about, and we can give him just some stuff happening up in his head instead of trying to fit a whole blender on top. A bit of head to work with. So one important feature of Blenderhead is that his brains are spilling out everywhere. So to do some brains, I will do some big circle cloud kind of shapes. And again, you might be able to use something like the line tool and erase half of this. I don't know, maybe not. Actually, I don't like that. Ah, bummer. All right, let's... God, I love the undo tool. Even after all this time, it still takes me by surprise because I didn't realize maybe how much I've done since I last... And I've complained about the erase tool a few times. It just erases everything you've done with the last tool you selected. So since I've been doing all these lines using this one tool, it just deletes everything that I've done since I selected it. So I'm starting obviously down here this time because it's a little bit frustrating losing your progress on top, and I didn't want to dive straight back into trying to redraw all that. So for my own personal sense of motivation and satisfaction, I have decided to approach this a bit differently. And a lot of the time I find with art and my own drawings, the more times you do it, and sometimes accidents like losing a massive section, even though it sucks, the end product is better for it just because you've been given a second chance. So I'll try and think of it as an opportunity instead of a loss. All right, so we have that. And then instead of, maybe we'll go kind of like, instead of giving him like a big jaggedy split open head, I'll do more of like a, it's been scooped out kind of vibe. And instead of going straight into the brain this time, so the reason I undid the last head was the last top of the head was because I found that the brain lines were getting too close to the hairlines, and I like just having a consistent gap. And when things start getting like too close together, like obviously the lines for the hair can all be close together, but when you start having lines for the brain getting too close to the lines for the hair, I think it looks kind of murky. I want each piece on this guy to be distinct. So by doing that sort of bowl shape cutout for his head, hopefully we can be a little bit more clear as to what's his head and what's ice cubes or brains. I'll make him yellow, I think. I was going for like yellow or green. Yellow? Oh, I've got a good green here actually. I'm gonna make him green. It is kind of fun watching the paint bucket tool just like mesmerizing as it's like slowly fills in a section. His hair can be, I think, a darkish. We don't really have a brown to work with, so I'll make it, I want a color that's going to contrast well with the red goo coming out of him. So I'll close this line here. Forgive me, the recording's obviously down here in front of me, so when I'm working with very fine lines, I just gotta get a bit closer to check what I'm doing. Okay, now we can fill in the hair. I'll start up here at the top. Yeah, I like that color with the green. Yeah, I do think it's going to contrast really well with the goop coming out of him. And there's a reason why I haven't drawn the mouth yet. And it's goop related, believe me. We also still have a little bit of blue peeking through from the glasses here. So let's go ahead and fix that now. And we will probably add like a bit of a shine or a bit of texture to the glasses, but I kind of want it blank to start with. That way, if we decide to change colors or do something different, it's not sort of left over as a mistake. And we'll need to close the head off over on this corner here. Alright, we've got a pretty good head to start with. Now I reckon we continue with the mess we're about to make. Another important part of being relaxed and chilling out is a little beach umbrella. So I'm going to use, am I going to use probably most of this back corner here to draw in maybe I will extend it down. Am I going to get too close to the hair again? You know what? Thank God. Instead of doing the beach umbrella now, I'm going to start drawing the brains, and then the beach umbrella will sit behind that, I think. So we'll start in this back corner here. And instead of like trying to get too complicated with the brains, I'm going to keep it simple. Again, we're working in Sega's Art Alive and trying my darndest to make sure that what I'm trying to do isn't too complicated or intricate to really pull off. Because again, I think the real strength of using a program like this is just how limited you are. Like, you can really only achieve so much. But in saying that, if anyone has a fantastic amount of patience and would like to show off what they have been working on, I would absolutely love to see something beautiful and intricate, well designed, with a fantastic composition done in Sega's Art Alive. I love to be proved wrong. I just know for myself that because of how limited the tools and the function is in Sega's Art Alive, I've really chosen very particular things to try and tackle in the program. Doesn't mean you can't be ambitious, but you need to know what sort of tools you're working with to get the most out of them. Alright, so if we start filling in some of the brain here. bit more of the brain here. We're going to have the brain starting to leak out a bit over here. And it's pooling a touch where it hits the glasses and then leaking further down here. And what's nice with the Blenderhead design is that those glasses are so thick and black and through the middle. They really do draw your eyes, and I do like how simple they are, because I think it helps everything else that's happening around it kind of stand out a bit. We might try and draw in our umbrella. And I'll just try and make it a bit smaller and more simple, I think. Something like that. That might work. No, that did not work. I live in hope. Alright guys, thank you for holding with me for so long. This is a bit more of a... I don't know, like, this is one of those designs where you kind of think in your head it's going to be a pretty simple concept, but when you start actually like drawing it out, there's just more and more to it. So, yeah, you guys have been absolute champions if you're still watching at this point. So what we're going to do now is work on adding a little bit of brain coming out of the nose. So for my Blenderhead designs, I've always had a bit of brain like coming off the top of the head, obviously where the massive hole is, but also leaking from the eyes and also from the nose. Now, if I had a little bit more control, it might be kind of fun to play with the idea of like the sunglasses being broken, it leaking out of the glasses. But I'm not feeling super confident about having that level of control with Blenderhead at the minute. But as always, we will do what we can do to try and make this guy really come to life, because I do really love this design and it would be great. It would be great to do it justice using Sega's Art Alive. Alright guys, what I'm going to do is pause the video here for a minute, let you guys enjoy the time lapse, and you can come back once I've sorted out where all this mess is going to sit. And hopefully we've got a much more complete Blenderhead that we can all enjoy together. Alright guys, just in time for the grand reveal, mostly because my camera ran out of storage, but this is Blenderhead. As you can see, he is a head oozing from every orifice. Smash glasses, nose, out of the ears, and of course from the massive hole on top of his head. Like I said, it was a piece that came together firstly on like a whiteboard, and then I've drawn a couple of Blenderheads over time, and I kind of wanted to really bring it to life here on the Sega Mega Drive without leaving out too many of the details. So yeah, I pushed to get the blender bits on top, the smash glasses. It's never gonna be as intricate and detailed as I would have liked, but that's okay because we're dealing with Sega's Art Alive here, and we're not trying to be super intricate. It's about getting that idea across and how it sort of gets interpreted, or how those ideas get interpreted on this system using this medium of a kids painting game from the 90s. So it's been a really fun one to put this one together and see it come to life, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed it too. But yeah, really appreciate having you guys along for the ride. Thank you so much for tuning in, and stay tuned for some more leftover culture. Cheers guys!